Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they are doing. With me today is someone who tells tales of taverns and who also might be a vampire. Taylor from Taylor's Tavern Tales. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I loved that intro. That was great.
Thank you. I'm very proud of my intros, as they're like, the first 30 seconds and the only thing that people watch. I think it's important that they be good. Uh, don't look at YouTube analytics if you start YouTubing, is my advice. Not to you, obviously, but to anyone watching this. It's probably too late for you to not be looking at analytics, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely an addiction for me. I'd be like, what are the numbers? What
Yeah,
are
I
we
installed YouTube
doing?
Studio on my phone, and that was a mistake.
Oh, that's the biggest pitfall. Oh
Yep.
God.
Honestly, I should just uninstall it because I'm never like happy with what I see,
Yup.
but
Yup.
still better than Twitter.
Oh God.
Anyway, so with everyone, normally with people, I go back to the beginning of their like creative journey, and I think for you that starts a lot earlier than most people, because obviously you were a child actor. So
Yes.
let's start all the way back then with how you ended up acting.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, it starts even younger. I started acting when I was 5. But it starts a little bit younger than that. Cause my mom was really into like musical theater and
Mhm.
stuff. Like she grew up with musicals. So she wanted to like take me to musicals, not for like any kind of like you should do this,
Yeah.
just cause we like musical theater.
Yep.
Um and she took me to like this Beauty and the Beast Christmas show every year. And when I was like 4, I saw Chip and I was like, I want to do that. And so my mom was able to find me an agent, a really not great agent at the beginning. Um, I'm like, oh wait, what can I say?
I
Um,
watched I watched your brain tone that down several times. That was very
yeah,
impressive.
thank you. It's the media training. uh, um, yeah, but so for the first 2 years of my career, I didn't get anything. It was a bunch of like backup commercial jobs.
Mhm.
And then my I switched agents, and the first audition I was sent out to with that new agent was Twilight when I was 7. So yeah, that's kind of it went from there. After that, my agent was like, "Oh, we should send this one out on more things."
That's a wild first audition for Twilight. Like
Yeah.
that's how I don't know if you can remember. How were you feeling prior to that?
Well, to be fair, I was 7, so I didn't really understand like the impact of like these movies or like the books
Yeah.
yet.
I should hope
But once
not.
I yeah, but once I got it, I had to watch all the movies because like I had to know what was going
Yeah.
on. So my mom was like, "Okay, this can't be a habit, but I have you have to watch." And then she like fast forward all like the violent bits and all of like the spicy bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then but I was a huge like when I was a kid, I was like a huge like Harry Potter fan. So I knew like Pattinson from
Yeah.
Harry Potter. So I was even as I was a 7-year-old, I was like, that's Cedric Diggory. So yeah.
Very cool. You must have been like the coolest kid in your little
No.
group. No?
No.
Incredible.
That's the funny thing. I like up until high school, I really didn't have any friends because I was constantly like taken out of school like 3 times a week to go to
Right.
auditions. And funny enough, that makes kids kind of hate you
Because you get out of school for
because you get
free.
out
Yeah,
of
no, I can see
school.
that.
Yeah.
I would hate that kid. Like, I think that's a very
Yeah,
normal reaction. Like, how dare they?
exactly. Right? Hey, who needs a social life? Who needs that? Ah.
um, Looking back on that, do you think that kind of influenced what you're doing now in a way or not?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I would be where I'm at right now without like all my experience,
Mm.
like because technically I have like 15 has it been some sort of like over a decade of like experience
Yeah.
in like the film industry and in like the performing space, not the TTRPG space, but like there's a lot of like crossover
Hmm.
with like social media and like selling
Yeah.
yourself as there is within like the film industry, especially like from a young age being able to go into a room full of adults and you know put on a show.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely I definitely wouldn't be where I am without uh the experiences that I've had.
You've done acting work since then as well.
Yes.
How do you balance everything?
Um
Poorly is a perfectly acceptable answer.
hmm.
I'm self-employed. I balance everything poorly.
Yeah, me too. um yeah, I think once I started like doing better like within like the social media stuff,
Mm.
I, acting and like because I also did like musical theater, like professional musical theater as
Hmm.
well, and performing at like theme park stuff
Cool.
before this as well. Um, but like a lot of that took kind of like a backseat
Mm.
to the social media and like the D&D TTRPG space. I don't I the last time I went on like an actual audition might have been like a few months ago.
Hmm.
Because I've just kind of been like focusing on this. But definitely when I was at school in high school, there was no balance. It was just acting.
I mean, I think that's understandable as a teenager because acting is getting you this immense like attention, right? And you are
Yeah.
either a kid who desperately wants the attention or you're not. And I don't think there's an in between.
No,
Um,
I don't think so either.
so I think it makes a lot of sense as where you'd be like, I'm gonna go do this thing where like people recognize me because that's cool. Instead of learn about maths.
Oh God, I dropped out of math. It's so bad.
Did you have to do extra classes to like make up for the time you were missing and stuff?
No. There was definitely like on set, they have like on set like tutors, which I found weren't that helpful. Um, but uh I no, I didn't have to do extra classes. Like a lot of the times it would be going in after school and being like, "Hey, what did I miss? Can you
Right.
give me the material?" And then yeah, so I was also a kid with a lot of extracurricular activities
Okay.
because my original plan, yeah, was to be on Broadway.
I mean, you do musical theatre and you went
Yeah,
to musical theatre. I think that makes perfect
it's
sense.
it's every theater kid's ambition, I
Yeah, yeah,
think.
yeah. I
So
undoubtedly.
yeah, so I did a lot of like dance classes, vocal lessons, all that stuff. So there, like I said, there was no balance. It was just
All about the
yeah.
grind
Oh
very
yeah,
early
still
on.
am. Still am. Hey,
Okay.
that hasn't caused problems. It's fine.
No, I'm sure. I have I
No.
have 2 kids and I'm self-employed and I work amount of hours a week. It's very normal. Um,
Very, yeah.
I have an active social life. I see people sometimes digitally.
Oh. Hmm.
My social life is my D&D. Uh,
Well, you have an excuse to like actually meet new people. I do
this
this maybe like
Oh
yeah.
god, that's terrible. I hadn't even thought about that. I've legitimately met more people doing these interviews than I have like recently otherwise. Outside of like school drop off with the kids, but that I feel
Yep.
like that doesn't count. Um, maybe it does. I'm not
I
judging
think
either
it
way.
counts.
We'll take it, right?
Yeah,
Technically, I
anything.
see people outside of my own home. Oh no, we've devolved into me. I'm gonna not think about that and move on. So, at what point did you decide, in amongst all of this other stuff that you're doing, hey, I should make a YouTube channel?
Oh, well, it's kind of a long story, but to make it brief, um, I got back. I was doing a performing contract working for Universal Studios in Beijing, and I got back and I had nothing to do. Uh, and my plan was to actually go to like Japan to do
Hmm.
Tokyo Disney or Universal uh, Osaka, Japan.
Hmm.
Um, and I I got it. I got the Tokyo Disney job, but unfortunately, I did a little bit of a lie and I told them I didn't have any tattoos, but I
Oh,
do. And so they were like, "Oh, actually, never mind." So
gone.
yeah.
Frisbeed
So
it
then
out the
I
window.
literally. So then I had like basically a year ahead of me because they only do auditions once a year.
Right.
So I had like a year ahead of me, and I was like, "Oh God, what do I do?" Um, and yeah, a little bit of an existential crisis, health decline. I was in the hospital like 10 times. That was like, it's okay. We're fine now. But like, there was a period of time where, like, for 6 months, I was really, really sick.
Okay.
And I couldn't go outside. So it was like quarantine part four. Um, and that's when I decided to make a YouTube channel because I was like inside all the time and I was like just watching because I started my channel with like RPG horror
Mm.
stories. So I was just watching like a bunch of those because like I wasn't able to like play my games like in person
Yeah.
anymore. So I was like fell down the rabbit hole and then I was like, I could do that. I'm just gonna do that.
I
And
could
so then I
I
did
could
it.
read a horror story.
Yeah.
I respect it.
So that's yeah.
Were you ever worried starting your channel that A, that you'd be stuck doing those forever, and B, that that style of video would put people off of the hobby?
Yes and yes. Well, I think when I started the RPG horror story stuff, like I was trying to go from an angle of being like, "Hey, this is why it's bad." But like in a lot of my videos, I was like, "This is why it's bad. Please don't do this." But like, there's good groups out
Mm.
there. There's good people out there. These are just like few and far between. Um, but yeah, like I think that is why like I was slowly starting to make the switch and like branching out. Like if you look back at the history, you'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's starting to do some
It's
different
literally
things
horror
here."
stories, and then it's like a break where you just start doing a bit of everything else instead.
Yep. I just decided to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna do something else. Yeah, because eventually, like for me, it definitely did start like weighing more on my mental health, reading all of like the dark
I
sides
can
of
imagine.
the hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wasn't like passionate about that. I was kind of just doing it because I was like, oh, I could do this for YouTube. I know how to edit this. I'll do that. And then like after I'd had the experience of like learning how to edit properly, mixing audio better, I was like, I want to do things more that I'm more interested
Hmm.
in and talk more about the positive side because I also think that if you talk about negative things, the community can become a bit negative in
Mm.
that space. So I'm like, I don't really want a negative community. I don't want to put that out there
Yeah.
anymore. So I was like, oh, I just want to put out good things.
And since you started doing collaborations with a few other channels, I know I've seen with other people as well, and also like the D&D interviews on the street, things like that.
Yeah.
What inspired that kind of particular skew of your content?
I'm kind of like I've always been kind of like I just kind of want to do what I want to do.
Hmm.
And I have like I think it's the ADHD, but I have like a lot of like ideas floating around
So
in the
relatable.
brain. Yeah. So I think with the street interviews stuff, I was like you scroll through and I'm like, street interviews, but D&D.
Mm.
I could do that.
Yeah.
So basically, like everything new that I've done, it's been like, huh, I can do that.
I respect it.
Yeah, I don't have any shame. Yeah.
I had this discussion with my wife earlier. I was like, I'm the dad. I don't have shame. I am the shame. Like,
Yes.
you can't shame
Yeah.
me. That's my job.
Oh yeah.
Also, I'm on YouTube, so you know.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm already making fun of myself.
It's too late for that, right?
Yeah.
Too late. Too late to suddenly start feeling shameful now.
Oh yeah.
I swear I like doing YouTube videos.
Me too. Me too. Me too. Hey, algorithm.
Are you enjoying your content a lot more? Are you enjoying your video output a lot more now that you're doing a wider variety of things?
Absolutely. Um, I yeah, I think now. I mean, yes. Sorry. The answer is yes. I'm just trying to like widen. Um, I think like now because I'm doing the things where I'm like, huh, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I'd say it's less good for the algorithm because people are because I'm less like, oh, she has this one thing. I'm
Yeah.
here for this one thing. Where for me and for like my channel and my things, I'm like, I'm gonna build a table today. I'm gonna do that.
Your one thing is vaguely related to D&D, probably.
Yes, that is my one thing.
I think that's a
Uh,
niche. It's a very large niche, but that's fine.
I've decided like I think this year I'm gonna try and like hone into a slightly smaller niche so people kind of know what they're expecting when they come to my channel, not just like, oh, okay, what is she doing today? Oh, now she's talking to a random person. All right.
What do you think that more focused like niche will look like?
I think for me, I'm like a very like crafty person, and I love like being creative and making crafts. Like before I even became like a TTRPG tuber, um, I I used to like make all the props and like make the minis and
Hmm.
make the terrain and make all this stuff for my D&D games because I'm like, I don't need to buy that. I'll just make it myself. I'm always like I could do that. So so I'm like if I see something, I'm like, I could do that. I could do it better. So I have like I like a lot of the video. I've seen like some videos on YouTube where it's like making terrain from the dollar store. I'm like, I did that before they did that. Like half the stuff I back there is from the dollar store. So I think it's gonna go more of like a D and DIY type stuff.
In
Uh,
DIY, it's brilliant.
hey, I coined it. Nobody take it.
I briefly did a actual play series. My brain glitched and I had to drag it back. An actual play series, which was a Dragon's Horde D&D, which is ADHD and D.
Love
So
that. That's so
we
cool.
love plays on D&D.
Play on word, yes. Play on words are the best. And honestly, even saying this, like saying I might do D and DIY, this could change. I could just not feel like it and just go. Maybe I'll do video essays. Hey, maybe I'll do that.
Isn't ADHD a gift?
Oh yeah.
You can look back at this in a few months and be like, weird that I was into DIY at the time. DIY at the time.
No, literally. Oh, I look back at my videos. I'm like, oh, that's the headspace I was in. That's a problem.
Yep, all of mine's. I do most of my work's written, so I can look back through my written work and be like,
Oh
"What was
gosh.
I into here? Oh, weird.
Mhm.
What I was being paid to be into. That makes sense. Self-employment. Um,
Oh no, don't die.
that was too much for me. That was it. Um,
Oh, last interview end on a high note. Hey.
uh, um, at what point doing your YouTube channel did you realize that it was going to be a thing that you could actually do in terms of like rather than just being a hobby?
Um, I think, oh, that's hard. I think when I started to do, like when I started to make the switch,
Mhm.
um, because I definitely like was not making like adult money when I was doing the horror stories. um, but when I started to, because the thing is, like dipping into like YouTube Shorts, like I
Mm.
started to just post like YouTube Shorts and like started some of them started doing kind of well. So I was like, maybe I should do more of this.
Mm.
So then I started to do more of those and then branching out and then like the I had a crazy viral video with, and then more people were like coming to my channel and
Mm.
seeing my things, and I was like, oh, cool. uh, I think when I made the switch, and I started to make big girl money, I I was like, huh, I could do this. I could do this. Maybe I'll just go fully in on this now. And
Is
that's what I did.
is money weird for you as somebody that theoretically would have made money as a kid?
A little, yeah, that's I've never been asked that before. That's a crazy, yeah. I think for me, like I don't know why, but I've always been like I did this on a budget. Like I don't need to spend that
Mm.
much money. I'm going to thrift this. And the thing is like I'm very grateful and I'm very privileged that I like have money that I
Mm.
could spend on like more expensive things, but I like don't want to
Mm-hmm.
cuz I like saving money. I don't know. I've always been pretty like I don't spend my money very often. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's weird, especially with like social media. I think about it the same way as I do with acting because like a job I could have one job a year and that's it. So it feels like it's the same with social media. It's like, well, this video could do well, and then I could not make any more money for the rest
Yeah.
of the year. Uh, so yeah, I'm always budgeting. I'm always like pretty money conscious. But yeah, I guess that comes from when I was a kid.
Well, but that's
Hmm.
interesting though, because I would have thought it would be the other way for a lot of childhood actors, because as a kid you have no concept of money, but if you're earning money as well at the same time,
Yeah,
I mean,
like I definitely like I could have gone that way. But I think I've always oh my mind just went to a dark place.
we're
But
not. This is not therapy.
no,
If it turns into
oh
therapy, I
God,
have to charge you.
ah
So
shoot, and then I have to spend money, which I'm not gonna
exactly.
do.
So let's swerve away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think as a kid, like I wasn't into like expensive things
Mm.
either, and like when I wanted something expensive, I'd be like, because I also had like regular like teenage jobs. Like
Mm.
I worked at like a record store, I worked in retail. So like all of that money, I would be like, oh, I can spend that money. But
Yeah,
all of my acting money, I didn't spend until like recently. So yeah,
that's impressive.
yeah,
Especially as somebody with ADHD, that's impressive because
yeah.
we're not
I
known
have,
for good money management.
I know. Well, I have very good self control. It's like ADHD and OCD. It's like,
The ideal combination.
oh yes. I don't leave my house and I'm good with money.
We've laughed at some very dark things in the
Yeah,
last
no, I did not
23
expect to
minutes.
get this deep.
It's specifically my humor, but I try not to show off too much on the channel because it's like,
Me too. Me too. Well, this interview is just gonna call me out.
it's fine. We can talk more after the interview when I'm not going to turn it into a video. Um,
Fair.
right. Money. That was not a question I had. That's the point of interviews. You ask questions in response to
Yeah.
things. That's just how it works.
It's a little link tree.
I'm actually all right at this. Link trees are horrible. That's a whole other side. Um, DOI. If you had to choose, as it stands, between continuing to act and continuing to do your YouTube, if it was like a one or the other, which would
Yeah.
you choose?
YouTube for sure. Like if I like can continue to like keep this sustainable
Mm-hmm.
and like as a career,
Mm.
YouTube 100%. Which I think I don't know, I think for me yeah, it's weird because like I think a lot of people would think I'd be like, "Oh, acting for
Mm.
sure." Like everyone wants to be an actor. I'm like, oh, well, uh,
You
I
did it.
think
You were with Arpats. What is there to do after that?
it's true. I peaked at 7. I've always said that. I've literally
Always
always
said
said
that.
that. Um, yeah, no, I think that's the thing. Like I've done a lot like in in like the film acting space and
Mm.
the theater acting space. I did theme park stuff, which I still really like theme park stuff. Like a lot of the things I do, I continue to do it because I find it like enjoyable
Yeah.
and I find it fun. And I think film acting just became like less fun.
Mm.
Um, I think also there was also like a switch, which this is like I guess that's a whole other side tangent.
We can
But
do tangents are fine. You're allowed to go off topic. I have to stay vaguely on topic. That's how interviews work.
fair,
So you're
fair
allowed
enough.
to go for it. Run with it.
All right. Well, this is like I guess it's kind of like deep about not deeper, but like about the film industry, especially like as like a woman getting
Mm.
older. Like there's a big switch that happens from like kid to teenager to being like a woman
Right.
in the acting space, in the film acting space, and especially with true crime being so
Mm.
popular as it is now. I found like when I was getting like going for like roles that are like ages 20 to 25,
Mm.
a lot of the subject matter was just kind of dark. And
Yeah.
I like my whole thing is like I like comedy and
Mm.
you know, comedy comes from a place of realism
Yeah.
and like, you know, you can joke about yourself and all that fun stuff. But like a lot of the roles I was being sent out for like now is like, you know, uh, some dark stuff, like
Mm.
especially with like true crime things. And it's like I don't like to go there in my thing that's supposed to that when I was a kid
Yeah.
was like an escape and was like a thing that I liked doing.
Mm.
But then like because you know I love going out for like you know the Disney Channel shows, the
Yeah.
and like sitcom scripts and things like that. And like I'll do like a drama lifetime thing here and there, but yeah, it's just there is a weird switch and I think once that happened, I was like I don't like this as much anymore. So I was like, I'm gonna do things that I like and that I have control over.
That makes perfect sense. I also think
Yeah.
that obviously with your creative output, you have like full control of your YouTube stuff. Whereas obviously, if you're not acting in something,
Yeah.
inherently someone else has the control over that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I also just don't like being told what to do. So
That's just ADHD. When did you find D&D?
I found D&D in high school. Um I had a friend who still have the friend. Um but I had this friend in high school and like I was always into like nerdy things, but like more on like not even on the down low. I don't know why I said that. I was always outwardly nerdy. Um
It was funny that you were like, I was secretly no wait,
I was like me thinking in my head, I was like, I was trying no, I was not. Uh,
calling yourself out.
yeah. Oh, that's always the case. Got to keep myself accountable.
It's true.
Yeah, but I was always nerdy, and in high school, I had this friend who was also nerdy, and like I had watched like a bunch of YouTube videos
Mhm.
about because I grew up in the era of golden age of YouTube. Uh, I don't know, not the golden age, but you know, like the early the
Yeah,
2000s,
yeah, yeah.
2010s. Um, and so like I watched like a bunch of like the D&D YouTubers and like a bunch of like actual play shows
Mhm.
and that got me like interested in D&D into D&D and like my friend and I were talking about it cuz he was also interested so he found like one of like the older students this was like I think in grade 9 maybe
Mhm.
like 14
Okay.
he found one of the older students to like DM for us. So the first time I played D&D was in like grade 9 and of course I was I was a drow and I was a wizard and I was my name was Edge Sheila.
Literally edge.
Ed for short. Um
Incredible.
yeah, I was trying to be edgy so bad.
Look, teenagers, you don't have to apologize for being a teenager. We've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was the first time I played, and then we played like a couple more times. But then I didn't play for a long time. I just like because of course like high school and
Yep.
you know all that scheduling issues. Um, I didn't play for like until maybe I was like 18, 19
Mhm.
again. when I went off to a contract that I was doing in Beijing, because we were all like living in the same space. So like we're like, okay, yeah, we can do D&D once a
A
week
captive
consistently.
audience.
Yeah, literally. So I played like consistently there, and that's when I really like I was like, God, I love this game. It's so good. Um, yeah, and then I got back, and then I had nothing to do, and then I was like, oh, I'll DM because no one else is gonna do it, so I'll do it.
Someone has to
So
step up to the plate.
it's true.
Are you still DMing more than you play now? Then
Yes. Yeah.
are you happy about that?
Uh. Oh yeah. The funny thing is because I like having control, and I think it's the ADHD. Um, I like being like more in control and like coming up with like the story and
Hmm.
like coming up with like NPCs, and I love being a DM because I feel like I get to be more creative and I'm not like set into like one character.
Yeah.
I love like being multiple characters, and I love being the villain, and yeah, and I like I said I even before like content creation, like I made all my props, like I
Mm.
made my minis, like all that kind of stuff. So
Just
I
scratches the
I
itch.
like DMing.
When I talked to Amy Vorpal about this, she said she prefers, because she's got ADHD as well. She prefers DMing because it's like it's impossible for your focus to be on anything else other than it because it's so all encompassing.
Hmm.
And then after that, nothing scratches the itch in the same way because you're not running an entire world.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but like that's yeah.
She said it, and I was like, that makes perfect sense. Like, you've obviously
It
thought,
really does.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there is no other way in which you can be an entire game engine and all the voice actors and the AI algorithms and everything else, right? Good AI,
Yeah.
not the rubbish stuff. Um, do you get to play at all anymore, or is it entirely DMing?
Um, the only times I actually get to play is like online,
Hmm.
like not online like in the like actually playing online. It's like through like
Yeah,
D&D content creation, like doing like opportunities
yeah,
and those things, getting to be like a guest or uh yeah, that's the only time I actually play, but when I like do it for myself, that's when
yeah.
I DM.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Uh, is there anything coming up that you would like to plug at all?
Oh. Um
This is always silly because, like, the obvious answer is I'm obviously going to link to your channel. So, but is there anything specific, as a particular project that you would like to
I don't
direct
think
people,
so.
the three
Yeah,
people
I'm
that
not.
watch this?
Yeah, I just my channel continuing to grow that, do things like that. Yeah, I'm not on any podcasts at the moment, so just me.
There you go. Wonderful. Thank you for coming on. I
Oh,
always say this. I want to point this out. I always say thank you for coming on to my guests. It's just not always in the video because usually I'm like bye, and then we wave, and then I have a little chat afterwards,
yep.
and then I'm like, oh, thank you for coming on. But if I don't put it in the video, there's no proof. Anyway,
This is true. This is true. That was
anyway,
so fast. That went by so quick. Oh my gosh.
I was shortish. Anyway, we have to do the sign off. The sign off was penned
Oh,
by Antonio D'Amico,
of
Pointy
course.
Hat,
Mm,
which is that we both look at our cameras and we just sort of wave awkwardly, and then I just cut it. It's great, nice
perfect.
and
I love
simple.
that.
So
Okay.
thank you again for coming on. Yeah, bye.